Thank you so much once again. Nubia is a project that we conceived as an AI data journalist tool. And the goal essentially is to create an AI-powered data journalism news distribution platform that helps to transform various forms of data, specifically socioeconomic and geospatial data, into data-driven reports and insights. And we took on this project first based on our realization as a data journalism organization that different data sets across countries and sub-regional levels in Africa, especially, and we believe the same thing happens in the other part of the world, on issues of climate change, health, agriculture, are produced by different data publishers, but you have less of that data repurposed for journalism, either as inside or as development news item. Specifically because it's sometimes difficult for mainstream journalists to be able to make sense out of data or to draw out the most important insight from that data set. For newsrooms that have access to the data and know what to do with it, the other issue is how to turn the tons of data sets into multiple number of stories contained in the data. We've seen this example in our own country where data sets that you could use to write more than 200, 500 stories that are for different municipalities or different regions turned into just one story because of time, because of resources, and because of what it takes to do that. And so we decided that we would create an AI model tool trained to use images from different data sets, either their weather data, their socioeconomic data, satellite imagery, to allow journalists, when data is updated by publishing organizations, and to then send the journalists auto-generated stories from that data set. That was the initial plan that we had. But when we got into the real work during the fellowship and through guidance from Gary Rogers, someone that has done similar work here in the UK, we saw that what we have as a prototype wasn't going to work. First thing is we were trying to do two things together in one. Not that it's not possible, but within the little time that we had, we couldn't do much. First is whether we want to do a system that alerts journalists when data publishers update data sets, or we want to stick with when people have data and they can auto-generate stories or journalism articles from it. That was the initial thing. But we then went ahead to create a minimum viable product, or prototype, if you like, that helps to just write different types of stories in a data, and then turn them into reports based on algorithm trained to identify relationship in the data, locations and events, and have the opportunity to share it with journalists that are subscribed to the platform, or anybody can also come on the platform to make this usable for them as an open source tool, which is where we are at the moment. I'm going to pass it to my colleague Emmanuel to take us through I would say the technical, the nitty-gritty of how it functions and how we move from this goal to where we are today and where we're going next. Thank you.
Okay, so like Joshua said, the initial prototype did not work for us because we're trying to do two different big tasks within a very short time frame. And so we settled for being able to generate multiple stories from data sets, which are usually just reported as probably one big story, or in a lot of cases, just summarized without hitting the key points of the data. So we came out with this new prototype, which is just it's basically a server that is able to take a template that has been generated by the user and then converts these templates into multiple stories from a single data set, where we're able to get the raw data sets from whatever sources of data which the newsroom has. And the newsroom then cleans this data, structures it to fit the already created template. So before cleaning this data, the template should have been created. That's the template in which you want the stories to be generated. And then the entry point for this data will be highlighted. Say this data has points of scores of a team per state, or points of funds generated to each local governments per month per state. So these entry points will be listed in these templates. And then the system is able to make analysis or conduct analysis based on the various values of each entity in your data set. So after the data is run through the templates, it is then repeated for every use case in the data set. So if your data set covers, say, for example, the 36 states of Nigeria, you would be able to get stories for every state in Nigeria without having to write a story for every use case manually. So this is an example of a story for just one state we're able to generate as the out of the 36 states. So from here now, I would give, because we didn't do a slideshow of so this is basically the platform we've been able to build, where we basically go through how the system works under the hood. For those of us that don't know how to create regular servers, it just walks you through creating a normal server, and then going to try out the platform itself. So at the presently we have 2 stories available, right? So fact story is the fact itself is a data set that is released by Nigerian governments monthly. What it entails is how much each local government per state gets, right, as allocation from the federal government. And so usually this story is usually written as just one big story saying, okay, federal government has released this and this amount of money to the states. People in different states don't really know what their states got. They don't know what their local governments got. They just know the federal government released this, and that's it for the story. So for this now, we are able to kind of destructure the data and create multiple stories for every person. So say I'm someone from let's give this some time so okay. Say I'm someone from Bayelsa State now, and then government, as usual, has given each state their own allocation of FAC. So I'm from Bayelsa State now. I'm able to see every details from this data, and we're also able to send back the original data used to generate the stories, just in case users want to move through the data and get specifics without going through all of the stories. And then the whole server itself is open publicly as an API for anyone to use. So say you are a newsroom now, and there's a way you write your stories, it conforms to a particular style and all of that. You also get to receive class names, which are attached to every element of the stories, where you can just basically pick these stories and then display them. Probably like you're a local newsroom in this state, which is Anambra. You're a local newsroom in Anambra. You are able to display this story for indigenes of Anambra for in your own style, not necessarily having to conform to whatever style we have specified from our own end here. So during the fellowship, one of our biggest intention was, usually the users are able to put in a template of their choice. They're able to write the story in a way that suits them. we intended to run sentiment analysis on this story and then generate multiple variations of this one story. Say you put in a template in one format, we are able to generate file. We're able to give you back the same story, but in a different context. Yeah, we're able to give you back the same story in a different context, or possibly even 5 different contexts. And to do this, we plan to use OpenAI GPT-3. But at the time, our limitation was OpenAI was not available for us here in Africa. So it was just recently opened for us. I was able to create an account last week. So going forward for us, we plan to make this available where you're able to come in, put in your templates, and then generate multiple stories in different contexts for a more detailed reporting. Yeah. So, and also the GitHub repository is open source, and so we're developers who also want to contribute, probably, and also newsrooms who want to add in their own stories, put in their data, run it through it, and then generate stories also are welcome to contribute. So what is our next mile? Yeah, I already said the initial next mile for us is, being able to generate variations of the same story from a single data set. But then also we want the project to deliver thousands of data-driven reports and advisory about underreported communities and groups. It will also eyeball unattended issues without having to expend a lot of time on human resources and funds. Given the increased coverage projects Nubia delivers, Nubia delivers more in-depth reports with supplementary coverage, which will be delivered to the African population in diaspora who depend on these reports as major source of information. And this I think this is usually a very big problem, where people that are not citizens of Nigeria, they are not usually in Nigeria, depend on these news publications for source of information, but do not actually get as detailed information as they would want to get from these reports. Yeah, so also with Nubia in place, the gap between data that is being produced and data that is being utilized to form reliable development news, analytical articles, and insights would be reduced to the barest minimum. That's like our long-term goal. So thank you very much. We're open to questions.